Well, good morning, Facebook family and friends. Hope you all had a good Monday. I know I did. Spent the day fishing with my son, trying to get some big catfish. Unsuccessful. Well, my son caught one about 5, 10 pounder yesterday, so it was a good day. Just spending it with my son's always fun. So, you know, I posted today this. But what happens to children who are hurt by the very people who are supposed to be caring for them? But what happens to children who are hurt by the very people who are supposed to be caring for them? What's up, Mike? Hey, Kathy. You know, that's a good question. Because most often, those are the people that hurt us the worst, is the people that are supposed to be caring for us. When I was writing my book, I sat down with Pastor Terry. He's no longer with us. He passed away. For a couple hours, and he explained something to me, and I'll tell you what that is. And just recently, I've had people say exactly what he told me is their problem. And it was this. We're supposed to, or we're taught, or people are teaching us that we need to love and trust in Christ, a God in heaven, God that we can't see, a Father in heaven. If we trust in Him, He'll love us unconditionally. He'll take care of all of our needs and all of our wants. He'll love us, discern us. He'll always be there for us. Correct? And that's pretty much what the Bible tells us, and that's what we're taught. But the problem is this. So you're telling me I'm supposed to do all that, trust this entity that's in the sky that I can't see. Some magical, mystical God you talk about. Now, I know I'm just using this as an example, but this is exactly how it was explained to me. But yet I have a Father right here on earth that raised me, that I can't trust, that doesn't love me unconditionally. He doesn't take care of me. He doesn't provide for my needs. In fact, He's cruel, He's mean, He's vicious. Oh, He has His loving, tender moments. They're few and far between apart. And you want me to believe in something I can't even see? And I was working with a kid the other day, and without provocation, he used those words exactly. How am I supposed to trust in a God I can't see when my dad right here on earth didn't give a rat's crap about me? Good point, kid. Good point. So you see the dilemma we have. Hey, Al, glad you joined me. So you see the dilemma we have as parents, and it's kind of a epidemic, I would say. And a lot of the men that I work with, and even the women that I work with, they have the same problem. And I know growing up for myself, the rod and the staff was the way you raise your children. Beat your kid with the rod and the staff. Preach love and unconditional love and acceptance, but then you go home and you're getting beat, or your parents are not treating you kindly, or whatever. So another thing on that note is this, is that, and I even saw this in Alcoholics Anonymous, is that people cherry pick the book of Alcoholics Anonymous. They read what they want to read and what they don't want to read. And good morning, Denise. And there's a couple of things in the big book. In page 64 it says, and we will talk about God. It doesn't say a God of your choice, a God of our understanding. It says we will talk about God. But yet lately in the rooms of AA, it's higher power, it's a spirit in the sky. And there's a point in Alcoholics Anonymous when you're step 2, come to believe that power greater than ourselves will restore us to our sanity. Well, we're believing in a power greater than ourselves, a higher power, whatever that might be, to lead us back to God. So they've kind of gone away from that. They don't want to read that part of the big book because then we'd have to talk about God and the rules of AA, and we don't want to offend nobody, and we don't want to do that. And the other thing that's really big is on the top of page 64. It says, liquor is but a symptom. We must get to the underlying causes and conditions. And that liquor could be drugs, alcohol, gambling, sex, pornography, over-shopping, overeating. Anything is a symptom of a much deeper underlying issue, which we must get to all causes and conditions. Well, people don't want to read that part of the big book either, because that means they have to do the work to find out where all these issues are coming from. We're not born with them. So people cherry pick the big book. But then, in my experience, they also cherry pick the Bible. Because if we were to read further about raising children, let's go to Matthew 18:6. It says, but if you cause one of these little ones who trust in me to fall into sin, it would be better off for you to have a large millstone tied around your neck and be drowned in the depths of the sea. In my case, now when we're children we don't understand a lot of stuff, but in my case, they caused me to fall from God for a long time. My mother and my stepfather. Our job isn't to push our children away from God, it's to raise them up in the way of God and bring them closer to God and to Jesus. Now, there's challenges involved in that, and not everybody's going to get it right away. But even when I fell, instead of being preached about I'm going to burn in hell and this is going to happen and this is going to happen if I don't come back to the church, I don't believe, and you can show me, where did Christ do that in the Bible? Where did he do that with the little children in the Bible? And then if you go to Ephesians 6:4, or I don't usually do this, but these are really important to me, and this drives me crazy, I'll be honest with you. It says, fathers, do not provoke your children to anger by the way you treat them. Rather, bring them up with the discipline and instruction that comes from the Lord. Again, let me ask you something. I'll tell you right there, Father, don't provoke your children to anger. Okay, so sit down and we talk with our children with love. That we have to discipline them. Discipline is different than punishment. Punishment is you're mad, it's payback for something that you didn't like that happened to you. Discipline is correction. I don't see anywhere in the Bible where it said Jesus beat the children. I don't see that anywhere. The one last one is Proverbs 22:6, and it kind of reflects on Ephesians 6:4. It says, direct your children onto the right path, and when they are older, they will not leave. Again, bring them up in the way of the Lord. So that our job as a parent, my job as a parent, is to raise my children up in the way of Christ. How did Christ act? It's like when I work with these guys that come in and they're struggling, they need help, and they got all these issues, and I don't preach to them. Well, 1 Corinthians 1:18 says, talking the cross to people that are perishing is foolishness, but to those that believe in Christ is power. So it doesn't do a whole lot of good to start preaching to people right off the bat. I show them the love of Christ. I welcome them in. I don't push nothing on them. What would Christ do? He would welcome them in with love, non-judgmental. We have to do that with our kids too. It was funny because I was dealing with one guy, and direct your children onto the right path, and when they are older, they will not leave it. You need to look at this on the other side of that. One of the gentlemen I worked with in and out of prison for many years, and he got sober and his life was all together. But his son, all he saw was how he grew up in prison. And he saw that gang life and how, it looked so, not promising, but like romantic. It just looked like that. Hey, the gang life is a way, it's cool, the women, whatever, all that. And even after my buddy that I worked with for a couple of years got sober and his life changed, all his son could see was how his dad grew up. And even with his dad telling him now that, hey, look, son, you don't want to go down that road because it's not a good road. I know that's all you saw, but it was wrong, and I'm sorry for showing you that. Well, his son has got 3 strikes against him and is in prison now. Okay, it's not on my friend. because he went back, made his amends, and says, "Look, I'm sorry, son. It's not the life you want to live. Please let me help you, show you the right way." So by his example, his son ended up doing the same thing he did. Okay. So we got to be really careful what we're showing our children, what we're telling our children, and what we're showing our children. They're children of God. They just need to be loved. They're going to make mistakes, but instead of beating them while they're down, instead of kicking them while they're on the ground, how about if we reach our hand down and pick them up and say, "Hey, I see you trip. What happened? Let's talk about it. Let's see what we can do to get you through this one." Next time, for example, just a school test, "Dad, I don't know what happened. I got a D on my test." He goes, "You did?" "Yeah." "What happened, son? I saw how hard you studied. You studied in and out. How about if I sit down with you next time, let's figure out what you did wrong, so maybe we can bring that D up to a C and a B and so on and so forth." I know I never got any of that, and most of the people I know never got any of that either. So we need to discipline our children with love. Remember, discipline is correction, and punishment is I'm getting even with you. I'm mad at you. All right? Beating never did nobody. If a spanking or beating does so good, then why do you got to keep doing it? The screaming and yelling does so good, why do you got to keep doing it? So we got to be careful with the way we raise our children. Maybe that's the way you were raised. That's okay. It's like I tell everybody, everything's learned behavior. And usually when I sit down with people that were in that situation and I take them back, I say, "Well, how did it feel when you're being beat?" "Well, I'm good." "Really? You're in a drug rehab, you just got out of prison for 2 years. How can you be good?" And then I'll take them back, we'll have a little journey about their childhood, and as we talk about their childhood, all of a sudden I see them just sink in their chair and I go, "Oh, no, it made me feel bad." I go, "Well, so is that what you want for your child?" "No." So we have the capability of changing. We have the capability of changing. So getting back to the quote I did, but what happens to children who are hurt by very people who are supposed to be caring for them? I think you can answer that question. Oftentimes we wonder why they're so bitter and cold towards us. Sometimes maybe we need to look in the mirror and figure out, is there something I could do better? Even though I've already raised my children and they're adults, is there something I can be doing better as a parent today to show them how much I love them and care for them? Sometimes it's simple, "You know what, honey, I'm sorry for the way I treated you as a child. It was wrong. It's all I knew, and I want to be a better mother and a better father. I don't know what that looks like, so I'm going to need some help, but it's something I definitely want to do." 12 years ago, my children all but wanted me dead. And I don't blame them, the way I treated them, the way I treated my wife. But I can tell you today, that's all different. That's all different. I don't like to use this word, but I'll use it. They worship the ground I walk on. They love me unconditionally. Now, if I trip and fall back to my old ways, that'll all go away, unfortunately. So be careful with your words. Be careful with the way you talk to your children. Whether they're toddlers or whether they're teenagers, they still need guidance. They're going to make mistakes. They're just children. Sometimes they just got to be children. Sometimes we just got to let them be a children. Grabbing them by the arm, dragging them out of a mall because they're screaming and yelling is not really beneficial to anybody. Pick them up and walk them outside very quietly and say, "Well, if you want to scream and yell, we'll just sit in the car for a while. When you're done, we'll go back inside." Let them have the consequence. Let them choose what consequence they want. If they want to keep crying, or they want to stay in the car, then they'll keep crying. If they want to go back in the mall, then they'll stop. It's not on you, it's on them then. So there's just different ways that you can do this. My ride across America, I presented last night in a class. The damage is almost incomprehensible what parents do to children. And they don't know any different. I know that. They don't know any better. It's just what they've learned. And so let's educate ourselves. Let's look at different ways to do things. I was a great kid growing up until things happened. And when I was told I was a stupid idiot one too many times and I never amount to nothing one too many times, well, I started believing it. And if you're going to call me that and accuse me of these things, then I might as well start acting that way. So sometimes the reason kids are acting the way they are acting is because it was instilled in them by the very people that love them, their parents. So I know this is a hard subject, and a lot of people don't like to hear about it, but I see the damage that's done out there, that it needs to be talked about. Belt doesn't do no good. It just drives fear into kids. Do you want your kids to fear you, or do you want your kids to love you? Do you want your kids to respect you or disrespect you? Remember that respect is earned, not given. Just because you're a parent, just because you're a grandfather, just because you're an uncle, does not mean children have to respect you. If you're doing unrespectable things to them, why should they respect you? Why should they trust you? Think about this stuff. Think about it. Think about it. Sit down with a journal and think about it in your own life. If you were a child, or if it happened to you, what did it make you feel like? Get to the real part of who you are. Not just the surface level stuff. Oh, Randy, it happened a long time. It was no big deal. Look at your life today. Look at how it really affected you. Somebody that says something to you that stuck with you for the rest of your life that's negative. And sometimes it could be just one time, one thing by somebody that really, really you looked up to. And other times, in my case, it was a repeated, words I heard over and over and over again. But I got 3 children that love me. I got 3 granddaughters that I just absolutely love to death, and I know they love me, and I want to do nothing to harm any of my kids anymore. I sit down and talk with them. Even as adults, they need guidance sometimes, and I just talk with them. We have conversations. Try that for a change. Try having a conversation with your children. Try sitting down on the edge of a bed and say, hey, son, daughter, what's going on? How come what's going on in your life right now? Maybe they don't feel they can talk to you. And they need to talk to somebody. You're the mom, you're the father. They need to talk to you. They need to tell you what's going on in their life. And if you didn't have anybody for you, then be the parent you always wanted growing up. Be that for them. I never had anybody I could talk to, so I hold it all in. It's not important anyways. Nobody listens to me. And if you do decide to sit down and talk with them, then listen and hear what they have to say and ask how you can help. Don't try to fix them. I know they're your child, but do you really know what they need? You think you do. Ask them what they need. Ask them how you can help them. It's real simple. Be a parent. Love them. Love them like Christ. Sit down with them. Every picture of Christ in the kids, he's sitting with them, talking with them. So I get carried away with this stuff because I'm passionate about it. So I just wanted to bring that little bit of word to you today. Like I said, I'm going to do this once a week. I usually do it on Monday, but I was out of town yesterday. And I don't know if this is a good time or if I should be doing it like at noon. So again, feedback on that would be appreciated by anybody. Hey Don, how you doing? So I think that's it for today. Just think about the way you treat your children. Remember, they need to be loved, disciplined, not punished. It's a completely different thing. Look it up. And discipline with love. Discipline with love, not anger, hate, and rage. Because you had a bad day and your kids crossed you. If that's the case, then you need to sit down and take a time out and then go back and talk with your children. All right? So, that's it. Hey, my new devotional is out, 30-day devotional to wholeness. You can get it on Amazon, as well as my book, Healing the Man Within, and my workbook, The 7-Day Challenge. And I'm hoping to have my book, Healing the Man Within, done on audiobook, hopefully sometime within the next year. But I'm just putting it out there. It's something I'm looking into right now. People have asked me about it. So, and again, after the first year, stay tuned for another big announcement. Courageous Healer is going to do something big again. And I will be announcing that after the first of the year. All right, so everybody have a blessed day. And remember, if nobody told you they loved you today, Randy does, but more importantly, God does. Be blessed, everybody. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate it.